Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. And after the last two league games, which consisted of 3 centuries all in all, we finally got the 4 teams that have qualified to the playoffs, and it's taken until the last game to get this final four. Those four being GT, CSK, LSG and MI. And this video will be me previewing the first game of the playoff stage, so tomorrow's game between GT and CSK, which takes place in Chennai. Before I go into the potential intricacies of tomorrow's game, I'd like to say that I think CSK are favourites for this game, especially considering where the game is being played. If it is a turning track on offer tomorrow, which I think it makes sense for CSK if it would be that way, then I think CSK would be considerable favourites for tomorrow's game. And the reason why I'm saying I hope it is simply because we've seen against the Punjab Kings, for example, and against KKR in the recent game that I thought in the latest game 180 was a pass score, and pretty much everyone read the surface wrong. And I didn't think it was a wrong decision from MS Dhoni to choose to bat first, but they didn't get enough runs on the board. I hope it isn't that kind of a surface. It doesn't make sense for it to be that kind of a surface because CSK would be throwing away the advantage that they would have and are entitled to have in their home ground. And with 3 spinners that we've been seeing feature prominently so far, and I think they could even play Santner this game. I would have played him for pretty much all the home games or on any surface where there was some turn on offer if it was a slow turning track, but they haven't gone that route thus far in most of the games. And yeah, I think CSK should be favourites for tomorrow. And even if the Gujarat Titans lose tomorrow's game, I don't think it's the end of the world by any means. I think they'll be playing against one of MI or LSG in Ahmedabad, whoever wins that eliminator game. And I think LSG should get the job done against MI. And I think with the record that GT have against LSG thus far, 3 games played and 3 wins, and playing in Ahmedabad as well. Whether they play against LSG or MI, they should get the job done. So CSK versus GT looks like the final, and the tables may be slightly turned in Ahmedabad despite the fact that CSK can look to win in Ahmedabad as well. GT will be feeling much more confident, I think, based on the conditions of that venue. And so getting on to what happened the previous time these 2 teams faced off, it was the first game of this year's IPL, and with CSK scoring 178 for 7 after 20 overs, I thought it was quite a let-off for them in terms of getting to that position. Even though Hardik Pandya has bowled very well with the new ball this season, I thought in that game, with him bowling the second over instead of Azari Joseph, I thought the pressure that Shami built in the first over, I think, was released. And CSK went on from there, and if it wasn't for Rudraj Gaikwad, I think CSK would have been all out for 130, and it would have been an easier win for the Gujarat Titans. And contrary to the rhetoric that was kind of building up in that game or was present in that game, people thought CSK didn't get enough runs in the first innings. I would disagree quite a lot. I thought 179 as a target was quite a good target to set from a side batting first in that ground. And I think CSK could have still won the game and should have won the game. I mean, Moeen Ali didn't bowl a single ball in that game. I thought if he bowled to Vijay Shankar, then the game would have veered even more in CSK's way. And towards the end, like you've seen before, the Gujarat Titans, even if they looked okay at the halfway stage, towards the end they do kind of leave it a bit late, and it does create opportunity for the other side. I thought CSK could have made use of that opportunity more, but since Moeen Ali didn't bowl a single ball, they couldn't do that. So that was one of the tactical errors that we've seen across the board in this year's IPL from pretty much every team, at least on a few occasions. And in this game, I don't necessarily think CSK would find it much easier, especially if the track is turning. It could play into their hands. I think especially if CSK play Mitchell Santner, you've got 4 quality spinners alongside Tisha Patirana, who's been outstanding this season, and a pleasant surprise from what we saw in the previous IPL season and from other competitions in the franchise circuit. So that's on that. And regarding the 11s that they could choose, if you bear with me here. For CSK, I've gone with 11 that I'm not sure people would agree with. And I was looking to say this before, but I hadn't uploaded a video, I think, apart from the 2 IPL playoff updates. And that is that even from a couple of games before, I think Devon Conway should have played his last game before the DC game. Yes, he scored 79 against the Delhi Capitals, but if you saw, like I implied about the CSK track, or rather Chennai track in the Punjab game and the KKR game, it was a case where a slow turning track was quite a batting friendly track on the day. And I think you saw that against the Delhi Capitals, where I did expect it. You knew that if it wouldn't make any sense for them to provide a turning track on that day, given the spinners CSK have gotten, given the record of their top order against spin. So that's why I thought that if if DC did prepare a turning a slow wicket, even though the Kotla is that, it wouldn't have made sense at all. And we saw a high-scoring game from a CSK point of view, 223 runs scored. I think if CSK play to their advantage, that is nowhere near the game that you will get on this occasion. We've seen games go to 200 odd involving CSK and Chennai, even though the track has been slow. And that isn't because it was meant to be a 200 game. That's because both captains in that LSG game, both MS Dhoni and KL Rahul, didn't get things right at all. KL Rahul for the entire innings pretty much, and MS Dhoni for the power play of the bowling innings, which gave LSG the start. So if the captains get their tactics right or close to right, and if CSK ask for a surface that would benefit them, then I think this game should be fairly straightforward, like I've been implying quite a while. So because of of how Devon Conway goes on turning tracks, even though he is a good player of spin, I have gone with Ruturaj Gaikwad and Ajinkya Rahane opening the batting. If I would just get the 11 up. Shivan Dubey at number 3. I think he should have walked out at 3 against the Delhi Capitals as well, and said they sent Ajinkya Rahane out, and I don't know why they did that. Ambati Rayudu, I think with how good of a play he is of spin, you've got Dubey and Ambati Rayudu at 3 and 4. It's a very good 3 and 4. Moeen Ali, I still think he's being underutilized at 5, but there's not really anyone else, and you've got the bowling option that he offers as well. So I think that while he hasn't been in great form for the last while, not only in this tournament, I think that in the end, there's no one else, and he can still be useful in that role. And Ravindra Jadeja, if you're facing a spin-heavy attack, which GT, if they don't play Sai Kishore, they haven't played in thus far in the competition, surprisingly, but if they don't play, and they've got 2 spinners there, if you're playing against someone like a Rajasthan Royals, which you've seen CSK play against them twice before, and we saw a situation where we know Ravindra Jadeja takes about 2 overs or so to start hitting the spinners. He hits the paces straight away. If you send him out at number 7 or so, and MS Dhoni at number 8 with quite a lot of a required run rate towards the end, and if the opposition reserve a few overs of spin, even 1 or 2, then you know you're not going to get anywhere close to the score, even though you've got such pedigree names at 7 and 8 in this case. And since if GT don't play Sai Kishore, they'll have 2 spinners there, and they don't bowl Rahul Tewatia anyway. So I think if Jadeja walks out at 6, I don't think it would be as bad of a thing. I think maybe if he if he gets more time to face the spinners before accelerating at the end. You saw against the Delhi Capitals where I think they both pace at the end. So the moment he walked out at bat, you saw the innings that he played in the previous game. So that is on that. I think it's the fact that he hasn't been a great hitter against spin from early on in his innings, like I've just said, and I think if they've still got a couple of overs of spin left, how will that go? We'll have to see, but I think he can bat at 6 in this case. MS Dhoni can bat at 7, and Mitchell Santner, like I've said before in previous videos, if CSK pretend whether they're bowling first or bowling second, he would help curtail the runs in the first innings or defend the score in the second. And also with how the batting lineup is structured, if you've got Devon Conway going slowly early on, and you've got Rahane who is not as great of a player of spin as he is against pace, it displaces the other players in the lineup as well. Because you've got Dubé at 4, and number 3 I think is being underutilized at 5, and Moeen Ali even more so at number 6 than before. So I think it displaces the lineup if you've got those two batting, or Devon Conway and Rahane, one opening the batting, and then you've got Rahane at number 3. By taking Devon Conway out, it pushes the other players up, utilizing them more. You'd much rather play Rahane as an opener, especially in these conditions, than batting him at 3. And it frees up the spots for the other players as well to move one spot higher. And Mitchell Santner at number 8 is not a bad number 8 at all. So that is on that. And I think will CSK go with this 11? I'm not sure. They may just say, oh, we don't change the team. But despite the fact that that's worked in the past, you've got to think based on how... you've seen 2 examples, both against the Rajasthan Bros, where CSK, with their batting lineup and without the extra spinner in Mitchell Santner, have conceded more runs than they would have liked to, and have also struggled to chase that score down. So I hope they go with the 11 that I've suggested, but I doubt they will. Regarding the Gujarat Titans 11, as you can see here, I've gone with 3 overseas players in their starting 11, simply because I don't think they need to go with 4 to be competitive tomorrow. And looking at their roster, considering their overseas players, Adian Smith and Matthew Wade haven't played a game this season. I don't think they'll be used. You've got Alzari Joseph and Josh Little, who I don't think will play tomorrow. And you've got 3 starters in David Miller, Rashid Khan and Noor Ahmed. So the only player left is Darshan Shanaka, who's played the last 2 games. So the most likely 4th overseas starter is Darshan Shanaka, but I don't think they need to play him to kind of go with a competitive 11 tomorrow. And I've got the openers in Shubman Gill and Ridhaman Sahai expectedly so. And at number 3, we saw him bat in the previous game after a slow start of brilliant innings of 53. He's been in great form this season, and that is Vijay Shankar. He's been timing the ball very well whenever I watched him bat. Pretty much whenever he's got an opportunity, he's been playing, he's taken them. And I think, 1, he can bat at that number, and 2, I don't think Hardik Pandya should bat anywhere ahead of number 4 in the T20 side as of now. We saw last season was the first time where you thought you were seeing how he'd go batting at 4 in T20s and being the bridge between the top order players and the finishers for his side. We've seen him bat at 4 briefly in ODIs, I think for a series against Australia in 2017 where he scored a 78, I think. But apart from that, we haven't seen him bat at 4 in T20s. In 2016, he batted at 3 for the Mumbai Indians, but he was nowhere near the player that he is now. And a fantastic season the previous year, batted like a proper number 4 with 487 runs. I feel like him batting at number 3 just shackles him a bit more. We've seen an innings such as a 66 against LSG where 25 of the last 8 meant that he got 135 on a tough surface to bat on, and the bowlers did the job. Against DC, and unbeaten 59, but he couldn't get his team over the line on that occasion. So I feel him batting at number 3 shackles him up more. And with someone in Vijay Shankar who can bat at 3 and bat quite well at 3, optimizing the captain at number 4, I think, is the way to go. And I'm sure they will do that in this game. David Miller at 5, Rahul Tewati at 6, Rashid Khan at 7. And a player who they haven't played at all this season, but he played a couple of games the previous year, and that is Sai Kishore. There is no greater incentive for him to get a game. I think if you're not going to play him as a 3rd spinner in Chennai, I don't know when you will play him. Noor Ahmed, Rashid Khan, Sai Kishore as your 3 spinners. Yeah, that's a fantastic trio, and you've got the resources to compete in these conditions. So if he doesn't play, with how he will improve the side with both ball and with bat, he can bat a bit as well. He can bat, I think, as a number 8 to be very good. And you've got 3 players there who I think will certainly be a threat in this game. Yash Dayal, I think he could play tomorrow. You've got him opening the bowling. I think especially to Rudraj Gaikwad, who's had his struggles against left arm seam when the ball has swung. And I think he could be a matchup against Rudraj Gaikwad simply because Mohammad Shami, while he's been fantastic this tournament, I feel the ball may swing in the air for someone like a Deepak Chahar for a Yash Dayal. I don't think the surface has as much spice in it to really suit the bowling of Mohammad Shami. He may still do well tomorrow, but he'd much rather bowl in Ahmedabad that both him and Hardik Pandya get that seam movement that they do up front. So that's on him. I think he will have a disciplined performance tomorrow, but I'm not expecting him to be that kind of the front runner tomorrow for GT. And Noor Ahmed at number 11. So that's 6 bowlers, 3 spinners, and 3 seamers, including Hardik Pandya, which is a fantastic set of bowlers to go in with. I think as an impact player, I think if you don't need more bowlers than that, which I don't think you do, they could play someone like a Dasun Shanaka in the second innings or some other Indian batsman. And on Dasun Shanaka, I think the only player that he can play ahead of, if he does play, is Rahul Tewatia. I don't think there's a slot anywhere else for him to fill if he has to start in the 11 from the beginning. I think on Rahul Tewatia, he's a much better player of pace than he is against spin. And with the spinners, that if CSK do play Mitchell, which I hope they do, I don't think they will, but I hope they do, then you've got a case where you've got 3 or 4 high quality spinners to contend with, and that won't be easy, especially considering the Chepauk track. So if they wanted to play Dasun Shanaka there, since they're not bowling Rahul Tewatia at all apart from 1 over, and if they play Sai Kishore as a third spinner, you've got 12 overs of spin there. So they could play Dasun Shanaka ahead of Rahul Tewatia, and that could offer better coverage against spin in comparison to the former. But even if they don't do that, I still think that they've got enough there to compete in these conditions. But the reason why I'm saying Dasun Shanaka could be given a look in is simply because I think with the likes of Ravindra Jadeja, who's got 17 wickets this year, I think with the bat he hasn't done too much, but with the ball, 17 wickets at 7 point something. And when I was making my team of the season, which I will be putting out soon in a later video, he almost qualified as a pure bowler, even though at number 8 or so, even though he hasn't done much with the bat at number 7, simply because 17 wickets is probably the best I've ever seen him bowl in T20s. And I think him on a service like this, along with Mahesh Deekshana, Moeen Ali, and Mitchell Santner, and Amatisha Patirana, who even if you like hitting pace like Rahul Tewatia does, no one has been able to hit Matisha Patirana at all this season. So when you've even got established players struggling against him, even though Tewatia has been quite some player in the last few seasons, it's what you saw in the previous season what he did for GT, and this season, whenever he's got the opportunity, he's played well. Having said that, hitting someone like a Matisha Patirana at the death is not easy, and so I think GT will find this game a struggle, and that's why I do think CSK would be considerable favourites to win this game. Finally, before I finish up, the average power play score for CSK this season is 55.8 runs with a loss of 0.8 wickets on average, which is the least amount of wickets lost in the power play out of all the teams in this competition. And for GT, it's not too far behind, 52.6 runs of 1.4 wickets lost. Meaning, the thing that I said that Hardik Pandya would do better if a foundation is laid, then the foundation has been laid somewhat throughout this season. And I think the team that wins the toss should bat first. And if CSK bat first, I think 165, 170, whoever gets that score, it will be an imposing chase for the opposition. I think the Gujarat Titans especially will have to get that score, considering, in my view, if you don't get at least 165 against CSK on their home turf, if the track is turning, then they will chase it down quite easily. They will bust the game. So that is on that. And I think for GT, if CSK play the 11 that I think they should play, they probably won't. But if they do, I think Ambati Raidu and Shivam Dube will be a great counter to the 3 spinners that GT have got. If you dismiss someone like a Shivam Dube early, if Mohammad Shami can get a couple of wickets or so, pretend if you dismiss Rutraj Gaikwad via Yash Dayal, or if Mohammad Shami can get even 1 or 2 wickets, even though I don't think the service will have as much spice as he would like it to have compared to someone like an Ahmedabad. Then if Shivam Dubey is dismissed early, then the Gujarat Titans would be in to really try and control the batting innings, simply because apart from Ambati Raidu, Moeen Ali hasn't been in the greatest of form this season, and if you bowl the spinners to Ravindra Jadeja and MS Dhoni, who haven't gone as well against them this season, then I think even a side like CSK that you'd think could go quite well in these conditions, you've got certain players who would much rather face the paces, as Ajinkya Rahane at the top included, than the spinner. So that is on that. Overall, I do think CSK will win this game, but like I said, I don't think it's the end of the world for GT by any means. They'll face LSG, in my view, in Ahmedabad for the second qualifier, and I think they'll get the job done there. The final will be an interesting game. Both the teams can win, and I will say more on that game towards that day. So that's on that. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, share it with your friends. Remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?